Welcome and good morning. I'm Gemma Hazen. I am a worship committee member and liaison for the month of March. And Brittany is leading our service this morning. So, little reminder to everybody about our joys and concerns. You have like a hot minute to get them written up in the bowl. And if there are any announcements that folks have that didn't make it into the email, now is a good time to notify the fellowship about them. Any takers? Excellent. Okay. Well, as you are welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you are welcome here. With little children, or your partner, or alone, we joyfully welcome you here. You are welcome here as believer or doubter, as joiner or loner, you are welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not, full of energy or not, seeking a vision or a rest, you are welcome to join us as you are. We acknowledge that we're in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, Nez Perce, Blackfeet, and Anishinaabe people who shared the Helena Valley as hunting grounds. The indigenous story of the Helena Valley began long before the arrival of Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We honor the path they have shown us in caring for this place for generations to come. We strive for justice and fair relations with their descendants. And now we're gonna light the chalice. And our chalice lighting is in the order of service this morning.
I breathe in the warmth of its light, its glow filling the spaces where fear and doubts reside. I breathe out the tension I carry. I release what no longer serves me. I breathe in the strength of our community, a sanctuary of diverse voices and shared purpose. I breathe out the urge to let it go alone. I embrace the power of togetherness. I breathe in the courage to speak truth, even when it trembles on my lips. I breathe out the silence that holds me back. I make space for honesty and justice. I breathe in the hope of transformation, knowing that we are here to build and heal. I breathe out despair, trusting that change is born in small acts of love. As we light this chalice, may each breath remind us of the sacred rhythm of life, the pulse of creation, and the power we hold to shape the world around us.
And then our first hymn this morning is number 123, Spirit of Life, in the Singing Living Tradition hymnal. Karen is going to cantor for us this morning.
It's dark in here. Thank you.
We have some joys and concerns. We have a concern for a 6-year-old boy diagnosed with a rare form of cancer who needs chemo and will require a liver transplant. First chemo in Denver and then continue here. Have a joy, someone who loves music and underlined dancing. I have a joy and a concern. My son Asher, the joy is he placed 3rd in the state science bowl for he and his team, and then yesterday qualified for indoor track nationals in high jump in California in a month. So my concern is that I now have to drive in Los Angeles.
Your microphone is rolling.
Well, as the kids say, it's a skill issue. I can't do anything about it. I don't work in AV, so hopefully it'll be fine. I'm sorry people can't hear. Okay, so now we're gonna do Story for All Ages. There's an activity with Story for All Ages, so if you are interested, you should come forward. First there's a video, and then there's a little activity, so video first.
Well, the activity goes along with the video.
Lies.
So I'll just explain
Okay,
it.
here you go.
So there's rocks in here, and here, do you want to come? No? Eli? Eli, do you want some rocks? So everyone take a flower rock, a mountain rock. This is a star rock and a water rock. Here you go.
No, I need all of them.
Along with me, all of you. Here, Mom, you can have one too, actually. Here's a mountain and a flower.
Well, I did do the mountains. I did a few flowers.
Okay, and here's a star rock for you, okay? So, okay, there's more rocks if anyone else is interested. Okay, we can start the video now.
This is a handful of quiet. Put the 4 pebbles next to you. Pick up the yellow or orange one and put it in the palm of your hand. Look at it with fresh eyes. The pebble represents a flower. Rest one hand over it and hold the pebble. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower, fresh. Silently remember the words flower, fresh, as you breathe in and out 3 times. You are like a flower. Each of us is like a flower. We are fresh. We open to new things every day. We grow and change. Flower, fresh. Now put down the yellow or orange pebble and pick up the white one. This pebble represents a mountain. Put it in the palm of your hand and place the other hand over it. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain, solid. Remember that as you breathe in, mountain. Breathing out, solid. You have a mountain inside you. You are capable of being solid and stable. You are reliable. Mountain, solid. Set down the white pebble and pick up the blue one. This pebble represents calm water. Put it in the palm of your hand and place the other hand over the top of it. Breathing in, I see myself as still water. Breathing out, I reflect things as they truly are. Breathing in, water. Breathing out, calm. Breathing in, water. Breathing out, calm. Calm water is deep within inside you. You are calm and clear and peaceful. Water, calm. Put down the blue pebble and pick up the black one. Look at it and smile. This pebble represents space. Put it in the palm of your hand and place your other hand over the top of it. Breathing in, I see myself as space. Breathing out, I feel free. Space, free. Remember these words silently to yourself as you breathe in and out 3 times. Space is within you. We can travel in our minds as if we're going to the moon or like a kite in the air. We are free from our cares. We also give each other freedom. When we touch the space we feel inside us, we are free. Space, free. Now set down the pebble and look at all 4 pebbles. You have finished 12 in-breaths and 12 out-breaths. If you want to, you can go back to the beginning and do it over again. Flower, fresh. Mountain, solid. Water, calm. Space, free. Or you may go back and pick up any of the pebbles that you feel like you need for just a few more seconds. Hold it in your palm, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Flower, fresh. Mountain, solid. Water, calm. Space, free.
And now we can sing the children out to RE. There's this. And now's the time for our offering. Thank you for your gifts this day and for all the gifts of action that make this community possible. If you're visiting, please remain our guest. Your presence is your gift to us. We will sing Thank You for Your Loving Hands on page 25 after the offering and remain seated. So if Joe and Kelsey could come forward.
God speaks to each of us as he makes us. then walks with us silently out into the night. These are the words we dimly hear. You sent out beyond your recall, go out to the limits of your longing, embody me. Flare up like a flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going, no feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. That's Rainer Maria Rilke from Rilke's Book of Hours, Love Poems to God.
And then we have a hymn this morning. It is, I didn't get it in the order of service, the page. So it's page 28, If There Is a God in Living, Open Your Heart Songbook, and Karen's gonna cantor for us.
If there is a God, God is elusive. If there is a God, God is right in my face. If there is a God, I'm not so important. If there is a God, that's who's given me grace. 'Cause grace I see, God I don't. Sometimes I believe, sometimes I don't. But grace I feel, and grace I know, and grace is touching my soul. If I believe, do I practice detachment? Walk in silence, sit for days, lay down my life, fighting for justice, or live like a poet and sing God's good praise. 'Cause grace I see, God I don't. Sometimes to believe, sometimes I don't. But grace I feel, and grace I know, and grace is touching my soul. If there is a God, do I argue gender? If God is so big, does God even care? I don't mean about me, I just mean about the details. Oh, I'm blinded by God. They say that God's everywhere. But grace I see, God I don't. Sometimes I believe, sometimes I don't. But grace feel, and grace I know. If God is grace, then God is touching my soul. Grace I see, God I don't. Sometimes to believe, sometimes I don't. But grace I feel, and grace I know, and grace is touching my soul.
So we're going to do our responsive reading, which is an insert in the order of service. I'm going to read the italics with all of you, and Brittany's going to read the plain text. This morning and all mornings, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to our individual lives, to our delight and our pain. We can't let them do that.
I think
This is just one. So
you're reading the italics.
I don't have the mic on.
You did give me an opportunity to turn the mic on, because I did realize that as you said that. Yes, sorry, you're just reading the responsive. Yes. We are called to pay attention to our individual lives, to our delights and pains. We are called to understand and cherish ourselves, to take good care of ourselves, to know ourselves as loving and worthy of love. And paying attention to our lives, we give thanks to all that is good in them and work to make the best decisions we can to help us live fully and joyfully.
Today and all days, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to the people in our lives, to celebrate their joys with them, and to tend to them in their struggles. We are called to bring our compassion, kindness, and patience to our relationships, even as we are grateful for the compassion, kindness, and patience others show to us. In paying attention to the people in our lives, we give thanks for their presence and work to support them in the best of our abilities.
Throughout our lives, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to the society in which we live. We are called to understand the ways in which the lives of people we don't know and never will know are made harder by political and economic policies that value some kinds of people over other kinds of people. In paying attention to our society, we give thanks for the many people who are working for justice for everyone, and we join in working with them so that all people are treated with dignity and the worth they possess.
In all that we do, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to the natural world around us. We are called to understand how our decisions help the natural world to flourish or cause it harm. In paying attention to the natural world, we give thanks to the ways it sustains and enriches our lives, and we commit to living sustainably so that all beings have the chance to live and that many generations after our own can celebrate the planet and its gifts.
Love, compassion, gratitude, and the demands of justice call us to pay attention. As we pay attention, we bless ourselves, each other, our society, and the world.
Oh, thanks. Good morning. It's really nice to be with you all this morning. I know it's been a long time since I've shared this space with you all, and there's more on that later. It's hard to believe it's been almost 3 years since I've led a VSUU service. In the past, services I've led have always been a bit of weaving my own story and how my life journey has led me to a deeper understanding of UU principles and traditions. I wanted to begin today by sharing a continuation of that story and its evolution over the past few years. Some of you may remember bits of my story in the past, scarred by evangelical fundamentalism and disconnected from the earliest devotions and traditions of my life, with quite a bit of lingering shame and grief for the loss of relationships that occurred from the departure of my childhood religion. I walked away from evangelicalism with a shattered identity, and I lost the only foundation of life and spirituality that I knew. The Persian poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." For a long time, I couldn't see any light in that wound. It simply felt like loss. But over time, I began to realize that the rupture of my early faith did not end my spiritual life, and in many ways, it was just the beginning. In May 2023, I shared about the golden thread of grace that I've come to know in my life, which wove me back to this universal connectedness and led me to my own grounded divine presence. Looking back, I see how discovering BSUU and witnessing this community's deep commitment to the 7 UU principles helped guide my healing, especially with the 3rd and 4th principles of the acceptance of one another and encouragement of spiritual growth and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. In this atmosphere of permission, affirmation, and supportive community, I began redefining my own spirituality, even though it often felt like I was starting over. But healing from traumatic religious experiences rarely happens all at once. When the source of harm is also the source of belonging, family, faith, and community, the path is rarely simple. For a long time, healing required distance. I needed space from the language, rituals, and beliefs that had once shaped my entire world. That distance created room for emotions that I hadn't been allowed to feel before, especially anger. And that anger, though uncomfortable, helped restore a sense of agency, personal identity, and a boundary that had long been suppressed. Eventually, the anger softened and grief emerged. Grief for the belonging that had once felt so sacred, for relationships that fractured when I left, and for this version of faith that had once given shape and meaning to my early life. Today, I'm sharing the story of integration, the next step in the healing process. And that has come much later, not as a return to what had been, but the ability to hold complexity, to recognize that some parts of my upbringing nurtured me, even while other parts harmed me. But let me rewind a bit and tell you where this new chapter of my life began. As most of you know, my work involves supporting women and families in birth, and most of that work has evolved to out-of-hospital work in homes and the birth center here. Birth is always has been a sacred space to me. It happens most often in the dark silence of the night when every breath is a prayer. The mind goes offline and the body takes over. Internal rhythms and intuition set the pace, and one's deepest beliefs and longings often rise to the surface. In fact, sometimes labor feels more like a vigil than a physiologic process. And most of the time, my presence alone is the most valuable skill I have to offer. In one particularly challenging birth this past year, I sat crouched on the bathroom floor in support for hours, and I found myself rocking in solidarity to a nearly identical playlist from my youth. It's amazing how the praise and worship hits of the 90s never die. After a 15-year journey of healing, something in me finally began to integrate. The connectedness I felt to that woman in that moment, despite all of our apparent differences, beliefs, or politics, was almost palpable. These old foundational songs, which for the past 15 years could only make me cringe, suddenly melted me with this deep awareness of our shared humanity. This was the beginning of a shift in my healing and a greater understanding of the deeply hidden values I still had within me from my upbringing. Another facet of the story unfolded this past fall. My children are growing older now, deep in their school age and beginning middle school. And recently, my awareness of the imperfections of the systems that we rely on to support our children has been heightened. Sometimes they help us, and sometimes they fail us. As my children grow older, I find myself unexpectedly longing for some of the traditions of my youth to support them in tangible ways. The rituals, the songs, the sense of reverence that once anchored and nurtured my childhood. And yet this longing carries a great deal of cognitive dissonance, no longer believing in the theological framework that once held those traditions together. This longing came as a surprise, considering that my primary feelings to the Christian church had been a sense of resentment. But the pull to this familiarity persisted. It was a strange tension to hold. After sitting with that longing for a while, I found myself drawn to visit a church that closely resembled one from my childhood. Before I went, I spoke with the spiritual director that I trusted. Half jokingly, I told her, "I think I might be having a midlife crisis. I'm thinking about taking my kids to a Christian church." She said something that stayed with me. "Go. If that's what you feel drawn to, just don't forget where your power lies." So for a few months we went. To my surprise, it was deeply comforting. I snuck in, attempting to go unnoticed in the back row of the balcony, and hearing the familiar songs and language of my childhood, something inside me softened even more. I found comfort, not in agreement, but in remembering the beauty of what shaped me. For the first time, I could receive these memories with tenderness rather than bitterness. I could see the beauty in what once nurtured me. My children, unsurprisingly, did not share this experience. And to them, it was unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and they resisted going every time. And eventually, I realized this small detour had not really been for them. It was just for me. The last service we attended was Christmas Eve. And there was this irony. I just wanted this little era of our family's church, Christian church visitation, to last through Christmas. I wanted to touch this remnant of a memory of celebrating these holidays with a deeper meaning than just consumerism. I sat through the entire service quietly weeping as all the old Christmas songs played, and the ultimate Christmas message was clear: a longing for a perfect Savior to come and heal a broken world, a longing for answers to all of life's pain and unsolved mysteries. This tradition was the epitome of what shaped my sense of the sacred. And I realized this is actually exactly what I wished I could give my children. If I'm honest, I wish I could just tell them this simple story about Jesus being the answer to all of life's pain and suffering. But sitting there on Christmas Eve, I understood that I couldn't. And this simple story wasn't for my family. And the Christian church often teaches, once saved, always saved. But in my experience, something else has felt true. Once your awareness of the divine expands beyond a single limiting story, it becomes very difficult to return it to that same way. And somehow, that realization felt like both a release of all of the grief I was still holding on to and a rediscovery of the power that I still had within me. So I left the service with a deep gratitude for the Christianity of my youth, for the reverence it taught me, for the language of prayer that it had given me, and for the way it shaped my sensitivity to the sacred in everyday life, and for the sense that all of life could be held with awe, and somehow, and that's even a bigger, more miraculous story. But I also knew with clarity and peace that my path was now to continue this ever-evolving, lifelong search for truth and meaning, with my family, with these boys that I've been given who never take simple answers for any of life's questions. Around that same time, something else small but meaningful happened. My dad knew I had been struggling with some challenges, so he sent me this email with a worship song and a short message just to tell me that he was praying for me and my family. For most of the past 15 years, those words had landed like a thorn in my side. They carried the weight of everything that had separated us, a quiet implication that I lost my way or that I needed to be brought back. But this time something was different. For the first time in a long time, I heard those words differently. Instead of judgment, I heard love. I heard a father expressing care in the language that always made sense to him. Prayers were his love for me when his words felt like it wasn't enough. And I did feel so much love in that moment. It was a small moment, but it felt like another sign that something in my healing had shifted. In the weeks that follow, I began reflecting more deeply on the spiritual practices that shaped me. I realized that many of the things I once thought of purely religious beliefs were also something else entirely. They were practices that brought my mind and body back into alignment. It was a reconnection to life force. In other words, many of the things I had learned to call prayer were also powerful forms of nervous system regulation. So I'd love to take a moment to share some of these rediscovered treasures I've carried with me. One of my earliest lessons I remember being taught as a child was to pray without ceasing, making your requests known to God. Prayer. The prayers of my youth are more memorable to me than almost any other experience of my childhood. They were my dreams, words articulated to define mysteries beyond my futile understanding. They were what motivated me and inspired me, and they were gifts to others when words alone didn't seem enough. And more than anything, they were comforting to a fragile, highly sensitive soul prone to anxiety. In retrospect, as an adult now, I can easily identify my child self as a highly sensitive nervous system with sensory challenges. But as a kid, I just felt like a tiny person in a big world. And I was okay though, because I had prayer on my side. What would my childhood have been without this beautiful regulatory tool? In preparing this message, I revisited what prayer meant to me as a child, as a teen, and an early adult, and as any good former Southern Baptist, I have 5 R's to define what prayer means to me. The first is request. Did you guys get that joke? Are there any? You didn't get the Southern Baptist joke. Alliteration. So they love alliteration. Requests. This is the first R. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. Philippians 4:6. This was the first, most simplistic form of prayer that I learned. My earliest lessons in prayer actually helped me to define and express my needs. This seems basic, but it's a skill that we often overlook that's essential for healthy mental well-being and for developing and maintaining healthy relationships. But it was also a skill for me as a child that was difficult to develop, and as well as with many other young girls, women, neurodivergent kids, it can be challenging. Ritual. For our family and our community, prayer was a ritual. Pray without ceasing. Without fail, we prayed before meals, expressing gratitude for our food, before and after gatherings, creating and defining a container of ritual within a community. And as long as I can remember, prayer became my first inhale in waking and my last exhale in sleeping, setting intention and expressing gratitude with each day I was given to walk on this earth. I have a lot to say about the importance of ritual in our lives and how I feel like we're missing a lot of ritual, but that might be another day to talk more about that. The next R is reverence. In my religious tradition, there was this certain maturation of prayer that seemed to happen, from the ritualistic, almost routine expression of request and gratitude to reverence, worship, the speechless honor of the divine. Simone Weil says, absolute unmixed attention is prayer. Living in an era of war on our attention, this definitely resonates with me. Mary Oliver echoes a similar message in her poem, A Summer's Day. I don't know how to pay attention, to fall down. I don't know exactly what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down into the grass, how to be idle and blessed, and how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? I've come to view reverence and presence as synonymous. My reverence as a child was directed to a masculine God sitting on a throne in some palace in the sky, and a young carpenter who was murdered on a cross. While the focal point of what I revere has shifted as an adult, I know deeply what it means to delight in something with my whole heart. I know how to fix my honor and gaze on the warm light of the sun, powerful enough to raise up seedlings out of the ground and bear fruit for life and sustenance. I remember how to slow the world down to stop and devote the unmixed attention of my presence to a moment so sacred as new life coming into the world and the miracle of that first breath a baby takes time and time again. And even now, I'm learning how to slow down and make space to revere the sanctity of childhood, exploration, to sit with the unanswerable questions, and to embrace the magic of living in a world still unfolding. The next R's are response and release. My Christian journey became even more interesting in my college years when I moved away from Christian fundamentalism toward the Pentecostal church, and my practice of prayer expanded even further. I became involved in the International House of Prayer. This is a movement to establish prayer centers that are open 24 hours a day for prayer and worship. If you're curious about this movement, you can look up IHOP KC. It's a prayer house in Kansas City that has been open for 24 hours a day since 1999. But it was here that I came to understand how prayer is also a response and often a release. There was this spontaneous singing, dancing, and speaking in tongues, the freedom to spin around the room, to yell, to be angry, to weep, or to mourn. Here, prayers were no longer recited with heads bowed and eyes closed. It was intuitive, it was fluid, liberated response to the joys, terror, and heartache in the world. Movement, humming, and speaking in tongues were available responses when there were no longer words to express what needed to be released. The critique of this form of prayer is that it's overly emotional and forced. But I don't think that's true. I think it's just a pathway that leads to regulation. I don't speak in tongues anymore or raise my hands to a Holy Spirit in the sky, but I have rediscovered ways to use prayer to respond to the ache and beauty in the world, and to release trapped energy, both positive and negative. I value and relate to other cultural forms of this release now too, especially the Chinese traditions of Qigong, which uses movement and breath to help regulate the flow of energy in the body. And Indian yogic traditions of breathwork and practices such as pranayama, which regulate life force through intentional breathing. So my last R is regulation. I've come to believe that these patterns found in the practice of prayer, request, rituals, reverence, response, and release all lead to regulation. And the beauty of this is the fact that it's not an isolated reality in Christianity alone. Spiritual practices humans have developed over thousands of years function in part as powerful tools of restoring the body's equilibrium. And even more fascinating is recognizing that these practices across cultures share remarkably similar elements: breath, rhythm, voice, attention, and release. And modern neuroscience is beginning to help explain why these practices feel so powerful in the body. Talking about stress is a hot topic these days, for a good reason. But the stress response is not really the problem. It's a healthy and necessary survival system. What's harmful is when we never return to baseline. Neuroscientist Bruce McEwen called this the allostatic load, the wear and tear that comes from living in a constant state of alert without adequate recovery. When we are stressed, we often try to think our way out of it. But stress is not only cognitive, it's also physiological. The vagus nerve, a major pathway of the parasympathetic nervous system, carries about 80% of its signals from the body to the brain. This means our bodily state continually informs the brain whether we are safe or under threat. Slow rhythmic breathing activates the system and signals safety to the brain. Practices like singing, chanting, and prayer naturally combine breath, voice, and rhythm, all which stimulate vagal pathways and help restore the body's regulation. Over the past several decades, researchers have increasingly studied practices such as prayer, meditation, breathwork, and chanting. Study after study has shown that these practices can create physiologic changes in the body to reduce anxiety, improve emotional regulation, support cardiovascular health, and strengthen resilience to stress. What many spiritual traditions discovered intuitively thousands of years ago, neuroscientists are now helping us understand. Coming back to the breath, attuning to the mind, moving, singing, humming, or even releasing cries of grief or anger can help restore balance to the nervous system. For some people, the practice is called meditation. For others, it's mindfulness, chanting, yoga, or breath work. And for many of us, it's just been simply called prayer. The language we use may differ, the traditions may vary across cultures and religions, but the human need to meet these practices is universal. The need to return to a sense of safety, connection, and meaning. So I'll just close today by asking you, what do you revere? What captures your unmixed attention? What do you need to release or respond mindfully to? As you go from here, may this be a reminder to pray without ceasing, for your first breath of intention to your last exhale of gratitude. May your undivided presence be your greatest worth, and may you devote your attention to something holy and worthy of delight. So we're just going to have a moment of silence now. We might have a few minutes for reflections. Anyone? Any thoughts? Oh, hi, Gemma.
Thank you very much for coming and speaking us today. I so appreciate the healing journey that you're on with your the faith of your childhood. It's a difficult thing to go through, and I appreciate you bringing it to all of us. And what you're talking about with prayer is something I've been going through a lot in my life. Like, constant prayer is really important. I am learning, especially as a person who is not always completely in my body. And I think that the terminology maybe is difficult for people, but I appreciate you bringing us the value of it as a practice.
That was really thoughtful and well done, and I thank you for bringing that to us. Because I can't incorporate all of that into my life, the thing that's sticking with me is to start the day with intention, or the first breath, and to end it with gratitude. And I do that some of the time, but I realize if I ritualized it, I could do it all the time. And that's probably an easy way for me to start. And you think about things really deeply, and we get the benefit of those thoughts.
Thank you so much for your service. When I think about spirituality as a philosophy, theology of a beloved, blessed, blissful spirit that is sustained by meditation and our prayer. Thank you.
You and I have parallel lives. And I have taken the same journey in the 3 years that you have been not around much, and I echo everything that you said. God is big enough for all of it.
Brittany's getting her steps in today. I want to thank you for this message. You know, I went through a different organization, but I have walked through those footsteps that you have, where I had a lot of anger. I had to redefine God probably 12 different times to see if I could even incorporate and maintain my spiritual self. And I have found that that spiritual side of me is a part of me, and I cannot let it go. It is part of who I am, and it brings meaning to me. And so I'm at a different place, but I still have that connection. So, I mean, I resonate with you and your message, so thank you.
Okay. Oh, one more. Our last one.
Thank you for your message. It was very well thought out, but of course, knowing you, that's the way you are. It resonated with me when you're talking about mindfulness, and it's just another way of meditation, breathing, being in the breath, and working with people in addiction. They're living with addiction. There's this being in your own body and being present and being here now. That's something we work on a lot, and at Helena Valley Addiction Services, and that sometimes is the piece that's missing. It is, no matter what you want to call it. For some people you can say connecting with your breath. Some people you can say being mindful. Sometimes you can say prayer. It matters which client you're working with. But that's the part that's missing. And some of it has the trauma that you endured, and that's part of it. So giving a different way of saying it. So yeah, that resonated with me.
It is interesting that being in your body keeps coming up, because I would say that that's something I was taught to disconnect from my body. But the irony is that a lot of these practices kind of naturally bring us back to our body, despite what we learn in our heads. So, Gemma, where are we? It's your turn.
You get to go have a rest. We're going to sing as we leave this place from the Open Your Heart Songbook, page 52.
Okay. What do you want for an intro? I'll have one written here. It's 4 minutes. Okay, perfect. As we leave this place, the chalice dims, but the fire still burns within our hearts. Beyond these doors, now as we leave this place, memories of each and every face carried us into the world, and we will be through, for now we know that something greater than any of us alone is part of us as we leave this place.
And now we will extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now we're going to circle up. I think a lot of us are familiar with Judy's song, Love Points the Way. It's one of those zipper songs. So we're going to get in a circle and we're going to try it without Judy, and I think we can do it.